Oh, look, Doug looks like he's had a bad day. Hey, Janice, tell me everything about how bad you are. A homeless person, whatever it is, we're going to go and do these little acts of kindness. And what we don't understand is when we're doing the acts of kindness because we're protecting our shame, it's selfish. And it's the hardest thing for us to really understand. So this is my interpretation of what's happening inside of ourselves when we are in our codependency. I've been in 12 steps. I'm out of 12 steps, but I started almost a year and a half ago now. And it's completely changed my life. Super amazing. If you don't know what to do with your healing, you should just go to the links below. PPG Recovered Codependence, that's where I got help. I totally recommend that group. It's 12 steps. It's free. I guarantee you, 1 meeting, 2 meetings maximum is all it will take you to find a sponsor, to find someone to help to guide you through the steps. But let's talk about what's happening as codependent. So there's an idea that we have these different sides of ourselves, okay? This is not a 12-step thing, by the way. So we're more than just thoughts and emotions. We're actually thoughts, emotions, and beliefs kind of like squashed together. When you're feeling really joyful, you have certain beliefs about yourself and about life. And when we're in different mind states, we have a completely different set of beliefs. And we are all like this, like all people are like this. And I can prove this to you. I want you to do a thought experiment, okay? Think about when you're in the push-pull with your borderline, when you are discarded from them, when they're discarding you, and you think about all the good things you've done and they've done for you. How do you feel about those things? We have crazy amount of resentment. We have a belief that anything that was good that they did to us was a manipulation. And anything good that we did to them, we did it altruistically, okay? And that's how you feel when you're being discarded. How about when you're getting back together, that beautiful hug you get? Oh my God, the best, right? Makeup, sex, whatever it is, that part where you're coming back together, where you're safe again and everything like that. How do you feel about all the good things they've done to you in that moment? All the good things you've done to them. Everything was worth it. It's okay. You have a sense of belief, okay? Not only that, if you think about the bad things they've done to you or the bad things you've done to them, probably the bad things you've done to them, you go, oh, it wasn't always altruistic. Yeah, sometimes I was wrong, right? You feel kind of safe to have those thoughts and those beliefs. And maybe the bad things that they've done to you, it's all over. It's okay. It won't happen again. So you carry with yourself a set of beliefs, feelings, and thoughts, and they all kind of cluster and clump together. Buddhism is very similar to this. It's this idea that, when you're feeling fear, it's not just an emotion that you're feeling as this neutral person. You're actually like possessed by that emotion. And when you're possessed by that emotion, you do have a bunch of different thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Thoughts and beliefs that come up with that individual feeling. So again, the thought experiment proves it. You can have the exact same thought about your borderline, but they love you. And you can think of the exact same memories, but somehow you have a different feeling because our feelings tie us to a set of beliefs, okay? When we're trying to heal out of these relationships, what we're often doing is we're trying to change our beliefs in order to change our feelings. We think that we can kind of like convince ourselves. What we don't understand is that when you have a set of beliefs and a feeling that goes along with it, that's one part of you. And you can bounce around to being different aspects of yourself. Again, let's do another thought experiment. During this week, when you were watching this video, did you have different highs and lows and different feelings about life? Were you sometimes totally in acceptance of things, other times rejecting things and stuff like that? Are those all you? Are those all the same self? One more thought experiment. Have you ever gotten into arguments with yourself where there's two sides of you that are fighting? Like they're at war with each other. You have this war inside of yourself. Those are two different selves. Imagine, they have different voices, right? They use different words. They have different set of beliefs, and you're watching them fight. So the thing that's watching them fight often is more as one of your higher minds, or maybe your highest mind, maybe your Buddha mind or something like that, right? But the point is that we have many different sides of us that have all kinds of different thoughts and beliefs. when we're in our codependency, okay, that is one set of ideas and thoughts and feelings and beliefs. Okay, it's a whole set. It comes pre-packaged like that. That's why when we get into recovery, we talk about it as being in our codependency, as if we're, sort of like we're embodied and we're inhabited by it, or we're possessed by it. And we use tools and 12 steps to get you out of that. And it's not actually by focusing on anything that has to do with codependency, although it is as well. What it is it's looking at, well, what is the purpose of this codependent self? Like, what is it doing? And so I'm going to talk to you about that in just a moment. And that's the purpose of this video, is to actually, what is that codependent self? Because we know that there's a series of different actions that come out from it. And for all of us, it's a little bit different. We're different styles of codependence based on our disposition. So this is what I postulate there. This is not something I read, but this is my own understanding of it. Thinking about, seeing other people's experience, reflecting on my own reading, stuff like that. So these are my thoughts. But I think they're quite close to the truth, to be honest with you. So in the center of us, okay, in the center of us is a piece of us that's super, super vulnerable. That exists in every single human being, okay? It's really, really, really vulnerable. It's like if you played video games, and old school video games, you're like the boss, and whatever body part of theirs was red, that was like where their weakness is. So you can think about it kind of as that, okay? We have a lot of different layers to us before, like an onion, before you get to the center where you can really damage us. All right, so I'll give you some examples, more thought experiments. When your borderline insults you and calls you some kind of name, they can pierce all the way through to that part of you. Boom, right? Trigger your shame like immediately. And so that's what that is too. When that thing is triggered, when it's actually pushed, what you feel is shame. And shame is feeling disconnected from everything. Okay, we can also call it a lack of love. Shame is what's going to trigger you into some kind of survival mode. And shame is also the thing that could trigger you to kill yourself. So shame is the worst emotion we can feel. And it's maybe the closest we feel to death while we're still alive. So it's like a torture kind of, right? Like, and shame triggers things like, I don't even want to be here. Like, I want to get the fuck out of here. Or the person who shamed you, you like wish death upon them. And that's why when we're in that resentment stage with our borderlines, we can have all kinds of crazy thoughts about like, I wish they fucking die. I hope they have the worst karma in their life. I hope the next person abuses them. I hope that they, whatever it is. We have all these awful, terrible thoughts. And really those are just thoughts simply triggered from our shame, and we're trying to eliminate our shame. So we have that, and we have all of these different parts of us until you get back to the shame. Now, we have one protector self. We have a lot of different selves in us that protect us from pain, okay? One of those protectors is your codependent self, okay? And it is like the last line of defense, all right? It's the last line of defense. If that thing loses the battle, shame is right behind it, and you're going to get triggered. So think about your relationship. When you started out, you might not have been super associating with your codependent side. Okay, that's your last protector, your last barrier, your last shield against complete annihilation, right? So maybe you weren't strongly associated with that. Probably you had a decent amount of it in terms of how you act and stuff, but you weren't fully identified with that side of you. Over time, as they kept shaming you and fucking you up and stuff like that, that self started to come out, and you started to embody it. You started to embody your codependent protector. And every time it didn't work for you, you got hit with a crazy amount of shame. And then that triggered your codependent self to go crazy, because it's your only and final line of defense. It's the last thing that defends you from shame. It's our go-to as codependent people. Now, Borderlines and narcissists, they also have this shame inside of them as well. And they're also don't have many layers to them, so that when you push through them, they have one final protector. My argument is that most cluster B's go-to protector is not the same as the codependent. Okay? The codependent go-to protector is going to play dead. Imagine a mouse playing dead. That's when you go numb. Your borderline or narcissistic partner is going crazy or whatever, and you're just numbing out. You just learn to numb and not feel and everything like that. So that's a way to protect you from the feelings of shame. You just go numb and you stay in the room, right? And maybe you stay on your phone and you try to ignore it and stuff like that. That's your protector. Okay? The second way that you do it is by appeasing them, okay? Fawning. So you appease them. You're going to either preemptively strike, so you're going to, you notice, ooh, they're in kind of a bad mood. Okay, I'm going to go make her a tea, or I'm going to try to do these behaviors and avoid these behaviors. And that's when you're walking on eggshells. So when you're walking on eggshells, because think about it, when you numb yourself, you're usually not, you're aware, but you're kind of not even walking on eggshells, right? It's almost like you're not even there. But when you're walking on eggshells, that is, I'm trying to walk in a way of survival to not get hurt. This is your codependent protector that's coming out, that's saying, okay, what do I need to do? Well, what I need to do is I need to make sure that their level of anger doesn't get too high, okay? Or they're feeling really sad and ashamed. Perfect. I like that a lot more because I know they're not going to, maybe they don't lash out at me when they're crying and stuff. So that's a safe time to go and approach them and make them feel better. And the idea of making them feel better is just to protect ourselves, right? Because when they don't feel good, when they're angry, when their protector comes out, bam, you're gonna get abused and stuff like that. And your codependent tactics of freezing, right, playing dead, like look, a mouse can play dead and a cat can still decapitate it and go, no, I think you're alive, dead, right? So playing dead doesn't always save the animal, but it saves the animal enough. But if that other thing goes to attack you, you're dead. So when you're freezing and she or he decides to go after you, you don't have a defense against it. Bam, right into the shame, right? If you are fawning, you're pleading with them, please, please, please don't do this, whatever it is. And if they go into anger and then they decide to strike against you, you have no defense against it. Or maybe you're pleading and their other side of it is to run away. So let's look at these things. I created a chart here, but I want to show you this. So I have threats. So whenever we're feeling threatened, threats of death, because we talk about fight and flee a lot in terms of like the animal kingdom and stuff of, a bear comes and what do you do? But in our codependency, especially when we're in that protector is triggered by all of these things. If we can manage shame, fear, and resentment on our own, then the protector doesn't have to come out, and that's when we actually get out of our codependency. Okay, so first things first. We have these 4 emotions, these 4 core ways to protect ourselves. And again, this is the final fight. This is the final protector that is coming out. This isn't just day-to-day stuff, although it can be day-to-day if you're in your codependency all day. But this is your final protector. This is the final fight. We have, along here, we have avoiding and confronting. So avoiding the conflict and confronting the conflict. All right? Now, as codependents, our favorite ones, okay, our very, very, very favorite are up here, okay, are freeze and fawn. This is our go-to. Freezing, playing dead, all right, going numb. You're avoiding, right? You're avoiding the conflict. You're avoiding talking to that person. And on top of that, we are up here and we're serving and accommodating, okay? So when you freeze and fawn, generally, you're not leaving, right? You're not leaving the area. You're not leaving the premises. You're frozen, you're numb, okay? So you're avoiding it, but in a way that's accommodating the other person. You're not leaving at all. Then we have fawning. Fawning is when we're going to beg for that person back in our lives. Fawning is when we're going to walk on eggshells. And fawning is a way of confronting. Fawning can also be, say trying to talk it over and seeing like, how can I convince them to not abuse me? How can I talk to them and figure out what I can do so that they don't abuse me? Okay, any of that walking on eggshells. So again, you're confronting the problem, right? This is our equivalent to their fighting is fawning, okay? And our equivalent to them leaving, running away, is playing dead, all right? Let me show you this last part down here. So this is what they like to do. Hold on. So this is what they like to do. This is their preference. Your abuser's preference is this. If they're going to confront the conflict, if they're going to confront you, the source of their pain, because they're projecting that you're the source of their pain, they're going to fight you, okay? And they're not accommodating and serving you. They're severing or eliminating the thing that is threatening them, okay? So we accommodate and we serve the threat. Imagine an army comes in and they're taking over our city and we're overwhelmed. Some people are going to fight to the death. Some people are going to run away. Essentially what that's doing is they're eliminating the bad guy. They're eliminating the bad thing. How are they eliminating it? Well, they're either fighting to the death, so okay, I'm going to kill it, or I'm running away. And when I run away, they disappear and they're gone and the threat is gone and now I'm to safety. So understand that your partner's abuse was this, okay? Came from this place of turning black, right? And when they turn black, we just mean that they're going into this place. And we call it turning black because of how damaging it is. But we could easily say that in our codependency, when we're freezing and fawning, we could also say that this is when we're turning black. We could say the same thing, okay? It just doesn't, we don't do the same level of damage to people. So in some ways, we kind of get a pass on it, all right? So you can imagine the army coming in and this person's going to eliminate the thing. They're either going to avoid it or confront it, but they're going to eliminate it. They're going to get it out of their lives in a way that is avoidant or confrontational. How about us? That same invading army comes in. Okay? What does freeze and fawn mean in these cases? Well, fawning is, surrendering. I put up my hands. Okay, cool. Please don't shoot. What do you guys want me to do? Whatever you need me to do, whatever I can do to stay alive, that's what I'm going to do. How can I accommodate you? Do you need help? How can I help you? So maybe the invading army comes in and I say, hey, guess what? Hey, everybody, I'm a medic. I can help. Like, I can provide some use. Or, hey, everyone, I know where all the treasure is hidden here. Or whatever. So we're going to fawn. Fawn might also be things like, in this case, maybe you sell out your friends or you tell them where the person who's hiding is or something like that. That's a survival reflex, okay? Freezing. Freezing in this case would be camouflaging or hiding, okay? So we haven't eliminated, right? We have not eliminated the threat. The threat is still in front of us, but we're hiding. And in terms of real threats, okay, you're hiding, you're camouflaging, or you're the dead mouse. You're the mouse that's not dead, that's just, playing dead. All of these survival mechanisms, there's nothing wrong with any of them. At their core, there's nothing wrong with any of them. What I believe is we have the big 5 personality traits of ocean: openness to new ideas, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, okay? Agreeableness is where this is what I think happens, is that if you tend to be a more agreeable person, so if you are more agreeable, what I say is that if you're more agreeable, you're up here, okay? And if you're more disagreeable, then you're down here, okay? So that's just your disposition. So what does agreeable mean? Agreeable means that you might put other people's needs first, but you're also looking out for like the collective over the individual. Okay? Disagreeable is when, no one can change your thoughts or whatever. I know I'm right, da-da-da-da-da. So think about how disagreeable your partner is in terms of they're shifting reality. They're so convinced of what it is. Now, we can also get into fight and flight too if we are in a disagreeable mind state. fuck you, you fucking bitch, how dare you, you did this thing to me, blah, blah, blah. So maybe when we're in our resentment a lot, we can go here. And that's what I argue about in two of the videos I did, one on the final discard and the other one on addiction. And that's, we are trying to stay in our resentment and we're trying to stay disagreeable so that we can fight or leave. And this is often actually where we get stuck. We're kind of like playing at being this kind of person. But all that happens is when you're going through that back and forth of, are they a narcissist? Are they not a narcissist? Could this have worked? Could this not have worked? They're a fucking piece of shit. No, they're a victim. When you're going back and forth between these two, you're basically trying to leave this general, you're more of an agreeable person, and you're more in this, and you're trying to force yourself into like a different personality type. And that's why you're bouncing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And that's why it seems unending. What you don't understand is the core of your problem is that you don't know how to get out of a mind state of being threatened. That is the core of your problem. If you could get out of this mind state of feeling threatened, then it wouldn't matter if your disposition is more agreeable or disagreeable. And if you can really work these steps well, it doesn't even matter about if they have any diagnoses. Like, I totally guarantee you this. Hold on a second. So I totally guarantee this to you, 100%. It matters zero to me whether any of my exes were borderline or not. Now, I started this channel and said that they're borderline, and I do believe that they are. But sometimes I don't even want to talk about them as if they are. Sometimes I feel like, who am I to diagnose and blah, blah, blah. Now, I think we should be able to diagnose. You're around the person 24/7 or a lot. You have a lot more insight into that behavior than a checklist written by a psychologist who's doing a 1-hour interview is ever going to get. Unless maybe they're the lady from the Johnny Depp for the Johnny Depp trial. Maybe she's going to have more, but at the same time, you're living that shit every fucking day. So, but I'm just saying, like, it really, 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 really doesn't matter, because 12 steps takes the focus off of them. Why? Okay, so remember that at the end of the day, let me get rid of these. Okay, so at the end of the day, what is driving our protector self? Okay, so I'm just going to, what color should we make the codependent? Let's make the codependent purple. Okay, so this is our codependent. So this is, I'm going to call this the codependent mind. Okay, so we have here at the top our codependent protector, or our codependent mind. When it is triggered, its go-to for survival is going numb, ignoring the problem. Someone's harassing you at work. Whatever, it's fine. It's not fine at all. Codependents love saying, it's fine. Yeah, no worries. It's fine, right? That's our agreeableness. That's us avoiding, right? So this is our codependent protector, or, bringing stuff into work every day to make people happy so that they like me and that they don't get angry at me and confront me and fight me. These are the things that are the easiest to protect us from shame. They are our go-to. We're more agreeable, and that's it. That's just what it is. It's why you'll never win against a narcissist. You can never fucking win, because when you're down to your last defense, right, the goalie protecting the net is a codependent protector for you, and the goalie protecting the net for them is a sociopathic protector, okay, or a sociopathic mind. Of course, they can freeze and fawn. They can beg for you back. They can 100% get into this. But this is more of their default state. And that's why you're never going to fucking win, because this is where they are. For you to get into this, it has to be a conscious effort, right, for us to get into this. The only time we might get into this sociopathic thing is probably when we're protecting someone else. So if your borderline is under threat, you might protect them and fight. Think about that Will Smith slap, right? Will Smith, He's up here with us. He lives up here with us. This is his protector. But if he's protecting someone else, he can jump into this part. Okay? Very important to know. Very, very important. And yeah, and that's it. So this is also a sociopathic mind. Why? Because we're going all the way for elimination. So sociopathic, if you're going to kill someone and still function, that mind, at least while you're in it, needs to be sociopathic and not feel bad or remorse or anything. Now, maybe when you drop out of that sociopathic mind and you come back to a calmer mind state, you could have a lot of regret about killing and PTSD, if it's in war or whatever the fuck it is. Okay, so understand this. This is what we're actually dealing with day to day. So we know that this narcissist is sociopathically projecting onto you as well. So when they feel these emotions, okay? So when they feel a threat of death, shame, fear, resentment, so when any of these emotions come up for them, they jump into this. Okay? As soon as this emotion comes up for them, they jump into this. They turn you black and they attack. Or they turn you black and they run away. Or you're not around when they're feeling shame, so they're going to run away and maybe cheat on you or whatever. They're going to get their needs met somewhere so that they can get out of this shame and this fear and this resentment. How many of you are so scared of when your lady or your ex is in resentment, that when they're in resentment, they're going to fly off with someone else and leave me, or they're going to come fight me or do something or maim me or shame me or some shit like that. Okay? So they're continually going through stuff, and when they feel bad on the inside, they jump into this. Guess what? Us too. We are not only triggered by our exes. We don't just jump into this codependent mind to freeze, to numb out, right? Our way of running, or to fawn, to walk on eggshells and appease and fix and all this shit. We are here far more often than we realize. And it was not until I was in 12 steps that I realized how fucking often I'm in this brain, how often I'm in this mind. And again, this is your final protector. This is the goalie protecting the net. If someone scores a goal, I drop right into fucking shame. And shame is the equivalent to death and torture, or torture before death, right? This is shame. The worst feeling one of the worst feelings you can have while you're alive is shame. So my codependent protector is on way more than I think, way more than I realize. It means as soon as I come home, when I'm in that relationship, as soon as I come home, I drop into this. But guess what happens? You're home for a while, she's totally cool. Oh my God, I thought we were going to be in a fight. We were in a huge fight last night. She's cool. Now I can drop out of this survival. So now my fear is gone. And I can leave that place, and now we can have this beautiful, wonderful time, because my protector part, this codependent part of me that's in its most base form, is okay. It's alleviated. Why is this important? Why this is important is this. The reason why so many of us, me included, I avoided doing anything to actually face the fact that I'm codependent. I avoided it by all fucking costs. I didn't do any of the hard emotional work to change that. I tried to just intellectualize it. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Well, this codependent mind, this codependent protector, is my last fucking defense. If I eliminate it, what am I stuck with? I have to jump. I'm stuck with my shame. As soon as I eliminate that codependent protector, all I'm left with is living with my own shame. Maybe my fear and resentment start to take over. As soon as these things start to take over, my codependent protector comes right back in and is looking, who can I help that's not me? Or how can I numb my feelings? I know how I can numb my feelings. I could go online and read about borderline personality disorder. I know how I can numb my feelings. I can go get drunk. I can watch a video. I can do whatever the fuck it is. But I'm going to be out. I'm going to disconnect from that. Okay? So this is your codependent protector. This is why we resist getting treatment, and this is why we resist associating with this mind. Okay? Because it's so close to our shame. And likely, in the moment when someone's trying to tell us we're codependent, we are right in this place of survival. And if they tell us we're codependent when we're out of the survival because maybe we're just calm and chill and we're having a nice day, then we don't really feel like we're codependent. We don't feel this crazy desperation. All right? The codependent mind is obsessed with eliminating the threat. Okay? Just like the narcissist is. The narcissist is also trying to eliminate a threat. And that threat might just be something that came up inside of them. They might just be feeling shame for no reason, or fear or resentment. And they don't know what to do with that. They drop into a survival mode, and that's where they go. Now, I will say this. I think that the borderline is really in between the codependent and the narcissist. So they drop into all four. You know this. How many times have you seen your borderline and they're totally numb, right? They're frozen. They feel shame and they're totally frozen right here. Or they're fawning, telling you how wonderful you are, or trying to get your attention, or trying to get the attention, love bombing someone else, whatever it is, right? So they're dropping into all four, and I think that's why it can be so confusing for us, And we really love, actually, when they're in their codependency. We love it because they might fawn and be wonderful to us, because they're fawning, might be just doing the best, all the things we love the most, and they're just treating us like a fucking king or queen or whatever. Or they're frozen and they're fucked up, and we can go in and play rescuer, okay? But the borderline hates feeling like this. The borderline has been called the failed narcissist because they want to feel this. That's the protector side where they feel a lot more comfortable. And that's what's going to come out. And what also triggers this is if you're being too codependent, you're going to trigger their protector. Because you're not protecting them anymore, right? You're not protecting them anymore. So, you're too weak now. This is also why maybe a borderline can like being with a really strong person, a really strong man. Then they can fall into the comfort of their codependency, and the narcissist can stay as the sociopathic person who's in charge of everything. This is also why when we come out of these relationships, as I did, we become what's called compensatory narcissists, which is essentially we're trying to put on this armor here of flight and fight. And we're trying to use the same kind of terrible tactics that the narcissist used on us, or the borderline used on us to abuse us. And we're trying to adopt these things as a means of protecting ourselves, and as means of, getting back with a borderline and trying to sort of juggle them in a way that is smarter. Okay? So I did this. I remember coming out of one toxic relationship, and then when I went into another one, I knew she's borderline. I knew it. And I was like, I got this time. I'm going to have really strong boundaries, and I'm not going to let her cross the boundaries. And for a while, it absolutely works. But at some point, she's going to cross some kind of boundary and fuck me up. And the only borderlines at best that I could keep kind of in that love bomb or liking me were girls I was just having casual sex with, where we weren't crossing over into that feeling of love. Because it is one thing to say, Mike, from the One Thing That Heals BPD and NPD Abuse, he says, look, feelings of love is also triggering the borderline to drop into that sociopathic side, that it's triggering them to split on you because they're feeling vulnerable, because love is so vulnerable, right? You're opening up to someone. And when the dopamine and everything from that love bomb is gone, you're just left with those terrible feelings, as are we. So remember, you're being triggered by a whole lot of things. And that's why when you're alone in your bedroom at night, you're a fucking lunatic. You can't stop thinking about them. You can't stop strategizing. You can't stop going into the past and uprooting stuff. You can't get out of your resentment. You can't get out of any of these things. And it's because you are so close to feeling shame, or you are feeling shame and you're totally triggered in your shame, and you're trying to look for resentment and fears and all of this stuff to bring you out of that shame. You know, my threat, like if I can have a red flag checklist, think about what that is, right? The red flag checklist is an instruction book of how to avoid the bear, how to avoid the cat. These are what cats look like. You know, a cat will kill you and blah, blah, blah. So I'm still in threat mode, and I need that list, because the only protector I have left is one stage, is the goalie, right? Is one stage before my vulnerability is there. And if that gets hit, I'm going to feel a complete disconnection from the world and a complete lack of love. And as soon as I feel that, I'm dependent on someone to bring that love to me. So that's the one thing I don't say here necessarily is fawning and freezing and all this stuff. All of this is to try to get us back into a state of calmness and hopefully to give us love. And as codependents, we just want that love, right? We want that thing. And that's also why your ex can hurt you terribly and then be calm after and be like, yo, what's wrong? Like, get over it. That was the past. That's not now. Like, that was the past. Like, what's wrong with you? And you're like, man, these injuries are really accumulating. Like, this is really hard. And they don't totally get it because they're calm. You know, they're not acting like that anymore. And, you know, they're out of that. What we try to do to avoid this is we try to come up with ways to strategize to not act codependently. So we're like policing our own actions, or we are, you know, again, the red flag checklist. I have all my warning signs out. Or if I'm in that relationship, oh, I have to be more narcissistic, so I have to fight back. So when she fights me, I need to fight her back. And I need to also use flight. So if she's treating me badly, I'm going to walk out. I'm going to leave. I'm leaving the conflict. I'm going to walk out. I'm going to wait for her to calm down, for her to deal with her own shame, or for her to drop into shame long enough that she goes numb, or she goes into fawning, right? So she wanted to fight in order to protect. I ran away. Now maybe if she's still feeling shame and can't get out of her shame, she's going to drop into freezing or fawning. So when I come back, she's really nice to me, or she's numb or whatever, and we can, you know, figure it out, and at least she's not attacking me. Or I'm going to learn to fight her back. Fight fire with fire. Okay, I won the fight. Great. Now she feels like shit. Now she's fawning towards me and asking for my forgiveness. And of course, I'm codependent. I feel really guilty about what I did. I'm going to, you know, and it's just these fucking protector roles switching again and again. So I talk about 12 steps every time. And I bring up these 3 emotions all the time, because when we're in these emotions, we jump into this codependent protector. It's totally obsessed with getting needs met in order to feel better about itself, in order to drop out of, not even feel better, in order to guard you from shame. So it's not a bad thing. You can't eliminate your codependent protector. You can't reject it. You should never be angry at it. It's there protecting you. It's really trying to help you out. It's assessing that you're in this kind of a threat. It's totally unconscious when it's happening, so you don't have control over it at all. And you can't actually control your codependent side. You cannot control your protector. When you drop in, you don't have control over that. Just as your borderline or narcissist, they don't have control when they drop into their protector. They're running on autopilot as much as you are. You know, when you go numb, you didn't choose, oh, I'm going to go numb now. It just happened. And your numbness, I know with me, man, my numbness could last a while. And it always happened. I mean, how many of us as codependents, when we feel that threat that comes in, you know, say some conflict happens, you know, I know this happened to me many times. You know, when I was out with my last one, she would shame me publicly. And it would be these little cuts in these little ways and stuff like that. And sometimes I didn't even feel it in that moment. I didn't even notice it. Why? Shame. What's my shame response? Fawning or freezing? So what I do? I would just go numb to that pain. I wouldn't feel that pain. And then afterwards, I would go, oh, what the fuck? I can't believe that happened. And then, as a lot of us codependents do, we think, well, it was just like a small comment. And if I bring it up, to my abuser, it could create a huge conflict. But even if the person isn't an abuser, we might not bring it up at all. And that's because, we're getting triggered by that. And that's our, gut response. Just like for them, one thing that I think is that I always admired in narcissists and borderlines was how ballsy they could be when they were in fight mode, that they could be triggered and just put someone in their place like that. And I would be like, wow, I really admire that. I wish I could do that. I wish that was my response. I think I would feel a lot safer, because we are accommodating our threats, right? We're not actually leaving. We're not eliminating our threats. They're eliminating their threats all the time. But because we stay, we actually get to keep a lot of our networks. We get to keep a lot of people. A lot of people won't say like, oh, Jesse, yeah, that fucking asshole, he's always double-crossing people and blah, blah, blah. They're not going to say that. But about my ex, keeping friends is really tough for them because they keep eliminating people. They keep running or fighting. And then when they're out of their shame, they're trying to do some kind of repairing. And there's only so many times you can do that. And the reason why we stay so long with people like this is because of how quickly we drop into that codependent protector, and it's freezing and fawning. So how are you supposed to get out of abuse when you're freezing and fawning? You're staying, right? We can make this work. We can make it work. And that's why we stay so long. And that's also why we're hidden from everything, because that protector, that base protector, is what protects us, and who is our threat? Well, when we're in these relationships with abusers, the abuser is the biggest threat to us. They're the biggest threat to us 24/7. So when that threat, when that cat that's usually batting you around is curling its tail and purring and, and is all sweet, you can feel really safe and protected. But that is what is happening. How do you get out of this protector side? You can't reject it. It's part of you. It will always be part of you. It's your goalie. It's your last line of defense. It has to be there for you to survive things in the future. We have different survival things, and you can't really say one is better than the other, okay? Borderlines and narcissists and their survival mechanisms, they don't have friends. They don't have many friends at all. They live super lonely, desperate lives, okay? We have a lot of friends, but we also have lonely, desperate lives in a different way. They both have their advantages and disadvantages, and we feel so weak because we're on the receiving end of abuse. And when we come out of these things, we try to find ways to, manage our own actions or manage the people around us, because we're trying to eliminate that codependent self, or we're turning into the super narcissist and we're doubling down. We're trying to actually amplify the codependent self. But what we don't realize is that codependent self is still, one layer removed from toxic shame, one layer removed from lack of love from everything. So how does 12 Steps fix this? What 12 Steps does is, let's look at these triggers again, okay? I can't repeat this enough times because I went through 12 steps and this has fucking cured me. I'm a different person now, I'm telling you. I'm not necessarily a different person. I'm just not jumping into this codependent protector 24/7. And I don't have to feel shame. I don't have to feel shame about being a more agreeable person. All right? I'm not as much of a disagreeable person, but I'll tell you this. As you come out of your codependency, I'm able to be more disagreeable. Why? Because I'm able to know myself more, because I'm not stuck in the shame self, the shame body that's just trying to, manage things, and I can't really have an identity. I'm helping everyone else and stuff, So I can drop out of that. But also, I am always confronting these fears. Every fucking day, I have different fears that I'm confronting and processing. And that gives me the courage to be a little bit disagreeable. And what else gives me the courage to be disagreeable is that I actually have a tool to deal with shame. So if someone comes and shames me, there we go, that's it. I can do what I can to prepare as a human being to be able to, be more aggressive, be these other things, nourish these other sides of me. But when everything is eliminated and gone, my base primal protector is going to be freezing and fawning. And that's that. And it's something to accept It's something even to embrace. It's at least you have a protector. You know, like, right? It's just our problem is we're in that mode all the time, just like they are. What we think is if I can get her out of her shame, her fear, and her resentment, I will never have to deal with the sociopathic protector. That's what we're always trying to do. We're trying to avoid her. So what are we doing? We are always continually fixing and managing her feelings of threat of death, shame, fear, and resentment. But what we don't see is that we can't control other people. You're not perfect. And on Monday, the way to help her feel unafraid is different than what it is on Tuesday. Because guess what? Most of her bad feelings are coming from inside of her because she's got toxic shame just like you do. So, how do you get rid of the codependent protector? You don't. How do you manage it? You don't. Managing it, I got another video, the reactions to codependency. Managing it will not work for you. It will not work at all because you're not dealing with the root problems, which is when you feel shame, fear, and resentment, you jump into this codependent protector. And as soon as you jump into that protector, you're fucked. You're going to freeze. You're going to numb yourself to your feelings, right? And that's why we think, okay, my feelings are numb. This is perfect. I'm so strong now. I'm not feeling my feelings. This is great. Or I'm going to fawn. Or I'm going to self-soothe through other people. So I have a little bit of shame inside of me all the time. I have a little bit of fear inside of me all the time. I have a little bit of resentment inside of me all the time. Oh, look, Doug looks like he's had a bad day. Hey, Janice, tell me everything about how bad you are. A homeless person, you know, whatever it is, we're going to go and do these little acts of kindness. And what we don't understand is when we're doing the acts of kindness because we're protecting our shame, it's selfish. And it's the hardest thing for us to really understand. The abuser is selfish as well. Absolutely. Your ex is totally selfish. And you have to accept that in them, but you also have to see that when we are protecting our shame, we're doing so in a way that is selfish. I'm giving to the homeless guy so I feel good. I'm giving to, you know, whoever. And because I'm disconnected from my shame, because I'm so scared to face it, I'm doing these things and I'm not even aware of it. I'm unconsciously giving to other people to protect myself. Now, I'm also giving to other people altruistically. There's absolutely times as codependents when we're giving to other people altruistically. But when you're in your codependency a lot, when you're dropping down into it a lot, you're not always giving that way. Or you set out to give in a way that's really altruistic and it's not. Thought experiment. You ever give to someone, they don't like your gift and you're cool with it? That's giving from your heart. You ever, you know, give someone advice and they don't follow it and you're cool with it? That's giving from your heart. You ever give to someone and give and they never reciprocate and it's one way and you have resentment? That's your codependent protector. That's giving from your codependency. That's giving from, you know, in front of shame or whatever. Because if I can help you, I get some kind of self-worth, right? You like me. That's a way to boost me. It's just a different kind of narcissistic supply that we get. That's all. It's just a different kind. And all you have to do is think about the narcissistic supply as a way to keep us above shame. And the narcissistic supply can be any kind of addiction. And that's why 12 steps work. So your codependent self, how do you get rid of it? You never get rid of it. But it's working overtime. It's always working overtime to protect you. Okay? Why? Because cognitively, you refuse to really look at your fears, your resentments, and your shame. Cognitively, you are always avoiding these things. That's also why a lot of codependents have a lot of other addictions. You know, a lot of us are workaholics. And so when people say, what do you mean I'm dependent on people? Everyone depends on me. I fucking work all the time. I provide for everybody. That's simply another distraction from these emotions of fear, resentment, and shame. And you're unaware that you're distracting yourself. Now, if you can drop into these feelings and you can actually process them, and we process them in 12 steps by every time they come up, recognizing them, seeing what they're about, seeing how we're projecting. Why is the projection important? The projection is important because you have to tell that protector side of you, this isn't really a threat. That resentment I had towards my ex, it wasn't really like that the way it happened. I'm lying to you. I'm not totally honest about my actions there. Okay, I was projecting onto them all of these things. So when we can eliminate that, then it can change our threat response to it. So that's why our dishonesty is so important to come down to. It's so important. And then once we remove that dishonesty, right, we're going to feel some level of shame for that dishonesty. Then you get more comfortable feeling your shame consciously, okay? So that happens. Then once I'm there, I say, fuck, all along I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted love. I wanted acceptance. I wanted them to not hurt me. And then we realize that when we come back to this thing, when somebody's hurting us, especially when they're in here. Now, there's a lot of people who hurt us who are not having a threat response, but let's just stick with the threat response and your ex. When they're here, they're being triggered for 100,000 different reasons. And probably very few of them are you, but sometimes they are you. And sometimes you are an asshole. And it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're doing the work, okay? But you're trying to control this person so that they don't drop into this. Right? This is what we're trying to do all the time. And seeing what I wanted her to stop abusing me. I wanted her not to shame me publicly. I wanted her to not do these things. So I get to come in touch with what I was trying to do. And I get to see that over and over again. It reminds me of that this is a bad person as well. So it's really good. I don't have to go, oh yeah, borderlines and they're this way and they're that, and we get caught in the story. It's not about that. I just I bring the focus from, okay, I have a terrible feeling. The feeling's associated with a memory. I'm going to look at this memory. All right? I'm going to write one sentence about how I'm projecting onto this memory. I need to see that I'm not totally seeing it correctly, because that's the thing that's going to dispel a lot of things, including the hope that this person will change. So many of these projections are, I'm resentful that of her shame response. I'm resentful that she attacks to kill me every fucking time. I hate that. I hate it, okay? But I'm being dishonest because that's who she is. That's how she responds. Or I did trigger her, whatever. Either way, it's fine. Because sometimes we do trigger them, and sometimes we are assholes, and sometimes we do the wrong thing. And we need to stop having this all or none thing where I didn't do anything wrong. No, you did wrong stuff too. And it's good to know that wrong stuff. And guess what? You can look at that wrong stuff and not drop into shame, because you have this mechanism. All right? And then the last thing we do with it is we then kind of merge or do some kind of service for our higher power. Okay? So first we ask the higher power, remove this emotion. We go through the projection of it. We go through what we wanted from it, which is how we're trying to control people. Right? It gives us acceptance that we shouldn't control people and all this stuff. And it's just bringing the focus back to ourselves. And then once we take the focus back to ourselves and our needs, the needs we were trying to get met, we then put the focus onto a higher power. And in 12 steps, what we would do is, if you're in it, I was in PPG, so we use a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'd read a couple sentences from that. Or I'd listen, like I have a recording link down there. I would listen to some of this recording. I would do whatever it was to bring me back into kind of the meditation and the learning around what leads us to addictions and what that's about, So I'm going to connect with this higher purpose and with this mantra and everything like that. Or once I've actually been through and I'm ready to sponsor people, I'm going to reach out to Codependent in Need, or I'm going to post on a forum. So some of you out there who see me, who are on this channel because I jumped into a forum and said something, I'm usually doing that because I was triggered by something inside of me, shame, fear, resentment. I worked through it, and then I moved to do something to align more with love and to align more with offering help to people with zero strings attached, just offering that help to people. And that love that I give, that and love in the Buddhist way. I wish for you to be happy without any conditions. I just wish for you to be happy. And I don't judge you for it. And I don't think you're a bad person. And I just know that you're also in your sickness just as I was. And I'm going to do that. As soon as I'm saying this, I can feel my heart opening. As soon as I'm saying this, I can really feel my heart opening. And it opens. And then I feel love from that. Because I'm embodying this idea of the higher power that's actually watching me or watching everything with the same kind of love. Like, hey, the universe is suffering. All of this stuff is suffering. And we're suffering because we're in some kind of state of ignorance. And the minimal things we can do is good action. So even some of your selfish good actions under codependency is still on some level creating good karma in the world. That's just cause and effect. That's just positive causes and effects, right? But if you can give out and not from that codependent protector, you get back from the universe. It's a different exchange, and I have so many thoughts on that, and I'll do more videos on it, but I just want to come into this because your shame is what you're afraid of facing, and you're afraid to face it because the codependency is the last line of defense against it. So if I say you're codependent, you're this protector, it's a shitty feeling. Fuck you. No, I'm not. I am helping everybody. I'm making sure no one's attacking anybody. Even I stopped a fight between these other two people. What are you talking about? There's something wrong with me. What do you mean I'm selfish? Right? Because we're unconscious of this. And the only reason it works, the 12 steps, is because, first of all, it's a genius thing, and it's helped thousands, hundreds of thousands of people with all kinds of different addictions and afflictions. And all an addiction is you're using something outside of you. You're choosing to use like one thing outside of you that is maladapted, that doesn't work. Because in Buddhism, nothing outside of you will give you any kind of consistent happiness. But we kind of overuse that thing, and then it goes from making us feel good to complete trash. And now we're one layer behind shame. We're one thin layer from feeling complete shame, complete disconnection from the whole universe. So what do? Pick up a bottle, let's get fucking drunk. Let's smoke some pot. Let's take some drugs. Go fuck somebody. Masturbate. Codependent relationship. Overeat. Put a needle in your arm. Play a video game. All of these things are all to avoid this shame that we feel. And we can consciously, we like to intellectualize, right, as codependents, but actually what we're doing, you're consciously removing your fear every time it comes up. Just like this. But you're not doing it by distracting yourself. You're looking at it. This is my fear. I'm terrified. I'm terrified when I go to the party later that no one is going to like me or talk to me. So I'm terrified. Wow. Okay. I could go over 100 strategies about what could happen. And this is my codependency, right? This could happen, that could happen. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Maybe I'll say this. Oh, I should wear this thing because then I'll fit in with people, and don't wear that. And all this stuff, right? That's the obsession, to stop you from feeling shame. How do you stop that? Here's my fear. Okay. What am I projecting? It's future-based, so I'm projecting everything. But let's look at, I'm projecting the worst-case scenario. Okay, well, it's dishonest because I can't predict that that's going to happen. It's selfish also. Guess what? Your worst nightmare is selfish, of like wanting that not to happen. It's actually selfish. I want to control everyone so that this nightmare doesn't happen. Or I want to control everyone so I have zero fear. This is really selfish. It means I'm a perfect human being. Sounds like a narcissist, right? It means I'm a perfect human being and nothing bad happens to me. So I look at it, okay, I'm being like a little delusional right now. I'm projecting. All right. It's selfish of me. What a nice way to let it go, right? Because they're saying like, look, actually I can't control any of this. Oh, yeah, I fucking can't. And not only that, it's selfish. I love this term. It's a weird word to use when I was first in 12 steps. It's selfish of me, okay? I'm not going to go into the strategies of what to say to people and shit like that. I'm going to go right into reading from the big book, listening to one of those recordings, posting a video, whatever it is. And that's going to, take me to a place of love and take me to a place of connection. Why? Shame. What is shame? Lack of connection. What am I doing? Higher power is abundant connection, is true love, is love that is just wishing for you to be happy no matter what happens.